We're live. Okay. Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Joran Oppelt here with Illustrious, and here once again with Sumaya Owens from Present Moment Media. Um, Hello to Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. Sumaya, how are you doing?
Great. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to see you, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation today about succession planning.
Yeah, it's
So,
something you and I have been talking about for about a month now.
mhm.
Something we've been focused on. We've got a little like a product we're launching soon here that I think hopefully some people will be excited about. And then we've got a workshop coming up that I hope people will attend, those founders and CEOs who are kind of dealing with some of this stuff. So,
Great.
yeah. Um,
Well, let's dive in. I know
yeah.
that you work with founders, CEOs, various other executives. What is coming up for them? What do they have in common? How does this topic
Mm.
relate to them? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the most common kind of theme I hear when I work with leaders and teams, kind of at the top of the organization, is that bottlenecking. And it either sounds like, and I was always talking in metaphor, right? So it's either like we're bottlenecked, we're stuck in the, in the decision making process, or they start talking about the pie, like they've got their fingers in everything, and it's like they can't get out of the day to day. They can't just kind of step back and let the team lead, and make decisions. So there's that kind of pain that you hear from the team, sometimes from the C-suite or sometimes from direct reports. Um, but for the leader, it's I don't know that it almost looks like the opposite. It's like I don't know if I have the right team. I don't know if I trust the people I have. And as a founder, as a leader, that's important to know. That's important. That's an important sense of security and stability to have, that you trust the team you have and that you have the right people in the right seats. The funny contradiction about that, the paradox of that, is that they need to sometimes just be told what they need to do in order to demonstrate that trust, that trustworthiness. So it really is, the leaders are responsible. They are beholden to communicating what they need to see demonstrated, in order to have that trust in the team and know that the time is right, to kind of step back and let them lead.
Mm-hmm. And how do you help them work through these bottleneck and other issues they're having?
Yeah, I mean, at a high level, we do a lot of the coaching, um, kind of methods around team coaching, or one-on-one development plans. There might be some visioning or some chartering that needs to happen around the team, or the team's goals, and sometimes that's a short process, depending on how much kind of internal, intrapersonal, and interpersonal work they've done already. Like, just depends on how ready the team and the people on the team are for that. And if they have some of those foundational building blocks in place, like they might have a vision, and they just kind of need to orient around it and get everybody leaning in the same direction, and you know filling each other's sails around that one vision. Or they might have five different ideas of what the vision is. So having those foundational building blocks in place first is really important. So once that's in place, then that development, leadership development piece can come online.
And what do they need to believe in order to be ready for this step?
Yeah, that's a big one. That's like, yeah, it reminds me of the coaching question, like, what do you need to believe in order for this to be true, or in order for this to happen? That belief from the founder, or CEO or leader at the top, they really need to believe in the power of the process. The best leaders, I will say, really not just love and appreciate what coaching and having a thought partner can provide, but they also budget for it. Like, it sounds self-serving for me to say this, but like the best people I've worked with and the people I've seen the most success with have a budget for stuff like consulting and coaching, just like they would have a budget for marketing or innovation or IT or whatever, right? Like they plan this as part of the process. They launch with the intent to scale with this as a line in the business because they know it's an important piece. They know it's a vital piece, not only for them, but the people that they are going to have reporting to them. And they really are queuing up. That's another key, is that they are queuing up leaders behind them, constantly getting people set up to lead in their place. So there is a belief of like the power of the process. There's a belief in the power of human potential. There's a belief in their team to get things done, a belief in their team to make the right decisions. There's all kinds of beliefs that they kind of need to have. And yeah, that is a mindset shift for some people. Not everybody starts a company believing in, like, you might believe in your customer, right? Or there's you can have beliefs about humans, but then as soon as you start hiring people, then it's the different thing where it's like, oh, I have to believe in them too. And that's sometimes hard because they're showing you sometimes things that aren't the behaviors you want to see, or just not what you expected, right? They make decisions differently from you, or they lead differently than you. They communicate in a style that's different from you. And that's sometimes where those bridges need to be formed to build up that trust.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I've heard from you about working with founders is that at times it's challenging for them to let other people lead and or kind of step up to the plate or just take more ownership. And that I think leads very well into this topic of succession planning. And so whenever we've talked about it, my understanding is it's really about the sustainability and the long-term goals of the company with or without the founder being present, right? Mm-hmm. And so can you talk a little bit more about what is succession planning? What does it involve? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I think succession planning should come online earlier than it does most often. I think that people recognize it not when it's too late, but later in the process, than it should. You should really be thinking about it early on. As soon as you are moving from like the founder who is kind of in the state of mind of like, oh, I'm so excited about this idea and I'm so focused on innovation and testing things and just kind of like moving from that real visionary. As soon as you slip from that mode of thinking into every day, you're thinking like, oh, how do I manage people? How do I lead people? Right? Like, as soon as you have gotten into that, there's a threshold that you cross, right? As the business scales, as soon as you get to the point, that's when you should start thinking about it, right? Because that's the time, because the next stage, is going to be somebody else is going to have to, step up and lead the way as well. And you're going to have to model that. You have to model the way, show them how to communicate the vision. And again, be queuing up these leaders behind you. So it's usually later on when the team's like, pulling at the cords, or there's, or the business finds itself kind of flatlining and, we're not bringing more business in because maybe the founder or the head is in delivery mode all the time and unable to scale because they're not willing to develop this bench of leaders alongside, and and then there's this crossroads. There's the again, that paradox of, can we bring more business on and scale, but if we do that, that means that we got to have somebody else to deliver. So there's this, again, kind of crossroads moment And, I think that planning before that would really benefit people, so that you can be ready for it. You can have a map, and as you're approaching that crossroads moment, you can say to yourself, okay, here it is. I read about it. I know we predicted it. We forecasted it. We knew when we got to this point, we would reach this crossroads, and here now we have this map, and we're ready to do it. I think the key component of a really good succession plan is like I mentioned before, knowing that you have the right team in place, and so that's the hard part too, that we don't talk about, is that some hard decisions might need to be made before you get to that crossroads moment. And and I say hard decision because it's hard sometimes to discern whether it's the founder, the CEO, the leader saying, I don't think this is the right person to step up and lead in my absence, or whether that founder CEO just hasn't asked the right questions yet, hasn't poured their knowledge and wisdom and experience into them properly, hasn't opened the door to give them opportunities to prove themselves and demonstrate their leadership in important ways, and or hasn't built that trust. So it really is a two-way street to kind of figure out whether you do have the right team before you do start to step away.
Absolutely. And whenever a leader, say CEO or founder, decides to begin this process of succession planning, who do they go to? I mean, I know that as a consultant, this is something you offer, but what do they look for in a coach or a consultant if they're looking for someone to help them with succession planning?
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of the broader question of, you work with who you trust, right? Like, I think that you work with people who have helped someone, I think that's just a rule. I don't know. It's just it's a truth that I've found, that you don't look up a consultant and on Google. I was about to say in the yellow pages, but people probably have no idea what I'm talking about when I say the yellow pages, but like, you don't look them up, you don't index them. Maybe there's some search words you might have, or you might have your team look up, hey, we're dealing with this, find somebody to help us fix XYZ. And I get that. And like, in rare occasions that happens, but most times, you're reaching out to somebody in your mastermind group, or another group you're in, or at a, friends of yours within the industry, and saying, hey, we're dealing with this. Like, who do you know that can help us, get through this crossroads moment? And then, it's word of mouth at that point.
Yeah, it's definitely been word of mouth on both sides of that coin for me, where we receive a fair amount of word of mouth for our consulting, and then also when I'm looking for consulting or coaching, then I'm often asking someone, who do you recommend? And one of my networking things that I do a lot is chat with folks in Facebook groups or on LinkedIn, and just hey, I'm looking for someone that, specializes in this, who do you recommend? And so I'm always reaching out, to my community and asking for that kind of support, whether it's, with anything along these lines, or something else, business and marketing. And
it's not just tastes or, preferences or style. It's not just like colors and flavors. It's like, sometimes there's like world views that you want somebody you work with to align with. It's not just, I went to college with or this person went to the same school as me, or whatever. Or it's not just like they're into sports, they're into music, or whatever. It's not just that, but it's like, can I get a sense that this person is developmentally, like, maybe just above or below where I'm at, like, it's almost like the emotional tone scale. Like, you want to communicate just above or below to people. And, that's, I think, where we get the sense of matching culturally with an organization, is that we share the same values. We view the world the same way, things like that. So that's what we're looking for as well.
Right. And that's important because, how you run your business is based on your own values as a leader, the company values. You want someone who's in alignment with that. I've definitely been in those situations before where I worked with a coach or a consultant who was maybe recommended to me, and yeah, just the way that they wanted to implement certain strategies or, kind of grow or scale the business in certain ways really didn't align with me, and just, yeah, my own values as a person.
Right.
So that's really important.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, if you had to think of maybe just a couple of values that are really important to you as a coach or consultant, um, what would they be? And the reason I ask is because I'm curious to know if there are other people out there listening who maybe resonate with that and maybe share similar values. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Illustrious has a set of values, and we have a set of values in order that we might deliver the best, most creative and premium work, and value to our clients possibly. But what I want to kind of get in how I want to respond to that question is, what values might I look for in potential clients? And I think that is, I think there's something around honesty for me, because I've worked with leaders and teams before that weren't necessarily forthcoming, weren't willing to be truthful, weren't willing to be honest with their leaders, and leaders not willing to disclose all the details to their teams. And it just kind of builds this residual resentment up. And so teams and leaders who are willing to be radically honest with each other, those are the ones who are the most fun to work with. And yeah, there might be bumps along the road in that process because we're being honest with each other. But man, it's like any other relationship you're in. I'd rather have the honesty and be able to communicate about it now and deal with that now and confront the things now than have this stuff building up over time. So radical honesty is really important as a value. And it doesn't have to be listed on their, about us page. But if I get a sense from the team that they're really being honest with each other, then that's a green flag.
Yeah.
And then the other one is that belief in human potential. If they've got to believe that people can change, they've got to believe that people can get better, they've got to believe that if they feed and water something, it will grow. There's just a belief in potential that's got to be there. It's that growth mindset as opposed to the static mindset. And that sometimes takes some digging too, because people will say certain things or say things you want to hear, and it's, not just to me, but to each other, right? They're saying things to each other that say, oh yeah, we believe in this and we value this. But then when you look at it empirically or on paper, but you're not doing this, right? You're not showing that you're living this value. So yeah, those are the two big ones, I would say. That would be green flags.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, I want to let everyone know that we're planning a workshop on October 27th for succession planning.
Yes.
Save the date, and we'll have more details and registration available ASAP. As we close the session, can you share a little bit more about where people can find you?
Yeah, I think, well, I have conveniently built a little banner. Ta-da! Here we go, in StreamYard, that I will scroll. And right here at the end of the broadcast, I see somebody is watching. We've got one person watching the live broadcast right now. So please leave a comment and tell us where you're watching. But yeah, if you're watching the replay or the recording or whatever, thank you for tuning in and listening to this conversation. And if you want to schedule a call, you can always go to Illustrious, which is illustri.us, and click on Contact Us and schedule a discovery call. And or you can email me at joran@illustri.us. I'd love to chat and hear what it is that you're dealing with, or what you want to accomplish, what goals you want to accomplish, what vision you want to either create or cast for your team. I love those discovery calls are really fun, and people get a lot of value out of just a discovery call sometimes. Like it's free to schedule, and it's just like basically like a free coaching session, So yeah, schedule a call, and I'd love to chat with you. And yeah, we've got this workshop coming up on the 27th of October where you will get into doing an actual succession planning program, designing one, and you'll get access to a mural template that you can use to create that for yourself and also share with your team.
Great. Thank you so much, Joran. It was wonderful to be here and to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sumaya. I really appreciate you, and have an amazing rest of your Tuesday.
Me too.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.